viewers, coronavirus is playing havoc all across the world. More than 370 people have died so far, and the number of infections is around 18,000. China is the epicenter of this virus, especially Hubei province of China and its capital city Wuhan. So more than 90% of cases of coronavirus, they are concentrated in China. What I want to talk about in this video is the disinformation and conspiracy theories which have been spread all across the internet, all across the social media platforms. And it has been very disturbing to see that on the one hand, Chinese people are fighting this epidemic, they are suffering, but on the other hand, xenophobia and racism is at its best against the Chinese. First, just a little bit about the virus. Well, corona is the name of a group of viruses which are found in mammals and birds. So there are different types of coronaviruses like SARS virus, which originated in 2003. Its outbreak killed more than 700 people in 2003 and more than 8,000 people were infected. So the SARS virus, it was also a type of coronavirus. Then MERS, Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, it was also a coronavirus. And this one, what is spreading now, it is also a coronavirus. So it is a type of coronavirus and it is yet to be named, but now it is being called novel coronavirus, NCOV, N for novel, CO for corona, and V for virus. But it is yet to be named. So it is a type of coronavirus, but it is generally being said it is coronavirus. Now, coming back to the conspiracy theories and disinformation, it started from a video in which a Chinese woman was shown and she was having a cooked bat. It was said that Chinese, they eat bat, they like bat soup, and this bat and bat soup, it is the origin of this virus. Because we know that SARS virus in 2003, when scientists did some research, they found out that SARS virus, it started from bats. From bats, it came into civet cats, and from civet cats, it came into human beings, and then from human to human transfer. And it is generally said that this virus, novel coronavirus, which is spreading now, it also originated in bats. So that is why people assume that Chinese eat bats, they like bat soup, and they are responsible for the spread of this virus. But this video, which went viral on social media and on other internet website, later it came to be revealed that this video was shot in 2016, and the woman who was eating or who was tasting that cooked bat, she was a tourist blogger and she wasn't in China. She was in Palau that day and she was just having a look at the cuisine of Palau. We know that Palau, it's an archipelago in the Western Pacific Ocean. And so she was there, she was traveling, and she saw that people were eating these sort of cooked bats, and she just made a video in 2016 and then she uploaded it. But this video was linked with this spread of coronavirus, which is spreading now. It is totally false. I mean, Chinese were blamed rather for the spread of this virus. On the one hand, they were suffering, they were fighting this disease, but all across the world, they were portrayed as perpetrators, not victims. Xenophobia, hatred, and sort of racial abuse they had to face all over the world, and it's very disturbing. And this story, that the Chinese eat bats and they like bat soup, from where this virus is originating and spreading, this story, it was picked up by many newspapers of the world. Mail Online, Daily Mail, then The Sun, The Mirror, The Evening Standard, several newspapers of the world, they picked up on this story and they published this story that Chinese, their eating habits are responsible for the spread of this virus. It is very, very disturbing because it is said that this virus cannot have come from bats directly to human beings. So there must be some intermediate host between bats and humans. From bats, it might have been in some other animal, and from there it could have been in humans, and then human to human transfer. So this theory that Chinese were responsible, their eating habits were responsible, it was totally false. But it was a source of trouble, it was a source of anxiety and depression, racism for Chinese all across the world. Then came the second story, which was published by Washington Times. And in this story, an Israeli chemical weapons expert, he said that there is a laboratory in Wuhan province, which is the epicenter of this epidemic. And this laboratory, this institute of virology, it is used by Chinese government and Chinese military for experiments and experiments on biochemical weapons. So he just suggested that Chinese were conducting sort of experiments and on bioweapons, biochemical weapons, and from there somehow this virus was leaked, unintentionally or mistakenly, whatever the reason was, but it was leaked from there and then it spread. Well, this theory, it had no base whatsoever, totally unsubstantiated, but it also led to this hatred against Chinese. In the first story, Chinese people were the target of hatred. Now Chinese government became the target of hatred. People started criticizing Chinese government, their system, that they are killing their people. Now they're endangering the whole of the world. Chinese who were suffering, they became the victim of this criticism. Then the third story, we saw that a couple in Canada, a woman who was Chinese and she was working in a Canadian Microbiology Institute. It was said that she was a spy along with her husband, and she and her husband, they were working on some sort of virus strain, and they exported this virus strain from Canada to China. This was the third story about this, the spread of this disease. Then came the fourth story, and it was said that Chinese people are not responsible for the spread of this virus. Actually, companies which make vaccines, they are the perpetrators, and they had made this virus a few months ago, a few years ago. Then they made the vaccine. Now the virus has been let loose, and now vaccine will come into the market, and this vaccine will be sold on whatever the price they want. So commercially, these pharmaceutical companies which are manufacturers of vaccines, they actually made this sort of virus and they spread it. Totally false. Nothing in it. Then another story that American government, America planted this vaccine, this virus, and they wanted to sort of damage Chinese economy. That is why they prepared this virus and they then exported it to China, and by way of spreading this virus, they want to target Chinese economy. Now, all these things, all these theories, all this disinformation, it has no base whatsoever. After that, we saw some cures, some novel cures. I mean, MMS, you might have heard, you might have seen, miracle mineral solution. And this bottle of miracle mineral solution, it was sold online, and it was sold, a small bottle, it was sold for $40 to $50. And it was said it has some sort of magical solution, which was just like a bleaching sort of cocktail, and it can cure any illness. It can cure cancer, it can cure coronavirus illness, etc. Then we saw some novel and some unique advice as well. For example, in Philippines, people were told to keep their throats moist, to take lots of vitamin C to prevent this disease. In some other countries, people were told to avoid all the cold sort of shakes, ice cream, and refrigerated foods to get rid of this virus. So all this is just nothing but bullshit. I mean, ridiculous disinformation, mostly misinformation, but sometimes disinformation as well. Unintentionally or intentionally, but we saw a sort of criticism, we saw racism, we saw xenophobia against Chinese. People should stand beside Chinese. They are suffering in this scenario. They are suffering more than 18,000 infections so far in China. But instead of standing by them, we are criticizing them, we are criticizing their eating habits, their system of governments. That's not fair. This is a virus and it came into existence somehow. It's not the first time that a virus has come into existence, but you need to fight it out. After that, you can talk about how it had started and how to move forward for the future. But please don't criticize any nation, any race, or any people just on the basis of your false sort of theories. Thank you for watching.